Welcome back once again to Jack's Tech Corner. I'm your host Jack, and you're here for another official unboxing video. What are we unboxing today? We are unboxing my new Sekonic L-358 light meter. Now I know what you're saying right away, Jack, you don't need a light meter because the camera has a built-in light meter, and it does. It has a built-in light meter for ambient light, but when you're dealing with strobes and with flashes, or with speed lights, you want to get that quick reading, and also it's not bad to have a nice reading outside in natural light, just to get a good starting point in your camera so you don't have to fiddle around too much. It's just easier, folks, to get a good starting point. And that's why I wanted to pick up this light meter. So let's go ahead and have a look. About all it's in the box here, just a little Amazon tag there. This is the actual meter itself. So, first of all, I chose the Sekonic L-358 because the Sekonic name, when I started reviewing these to find out what light meter I wanted to buy, because I didn't know anything about light meters, that's why I wanted to bring this video to you, is to maybe show you a little bit more about the meter and why I picked it, and show you how it works. But, in buying this meter, and looking around, I found that this is probably the top brand used by most professional photographers all over YouTube. So if you look, you're going to see this name, Sekonic, all over YouTube. Now they may have one a little bit higher up than the L-358, but I think that next model up from this one was almost $600. I just couldn't afford to lay out that kind of money. So I kind of went mid-road. There's one lower than this also that would do you just as well, do you some justice, but I wanted the one middle way, so I purchased this one. Let's see what's in it. Well, right away it says get an extended 3-year warranty. So I'll have to find out if that's extra money or not. But it looks like you just simply fill this out and mail this in and get 3-year warranty on your light meter. There's a quick user guide, which is no more than a card. It's the front and back of a card, pretty much all it is. And this meter is called the Flashmaster, if you can read that from there. The Flashmaster L-358. Alright. Well, it comes with a lanyard here, so you can carry it around or hang it from your light stand, or you can hang it also from your tripod if you use a tripod. The one thing a lot of folks did not like about this is it uses one of these little round batteries, if you can see this. It's not a standard AA battery by any chance, or any means. It's a CR123A battery, and I'm sure they said you can find them at most camera stores, or I'm sure I can find some of these on eBay. I can stock up on these things. Here's another little lanyard here. So actually this is not a lanyard. This looks like it's more... No, I see what this is now. This is actually like a cover here. You can actually screw this in, and we'll talk more about this when we start learning about how to use the light meter. This is the actual lanyard right here, so that's those. And that is about all that's in that box. So here's a light meter. Comes in a really, really nice leather case, or a leather pouch. What's neat about this already, I see that I didn't realize. On the back of this thing, it has a really nice belt clip. So you put this thing on your belt and carry it around. It's really, really nice and softly padded, so it's good and sturdy to protect your meter. This is the meter itself. Just like many light meters you'll see around the internet. You'll see different light meters around the internet there that you can pick up and use. It does have a retractable head on the top. Right there. This is for flash. You put it to somebody's face. And they say you would aim it to the strobe light and you would actually take a meter reading. And we're going to talk about that and how to use it. The one thing I want you to note right away about this particular light meter, and we'll talk about it later when I demonstrate it, is that to get this thing to fire, actually, to fire your triggers by pushing this button and holding it, which I thought it would do with any strobe, but I found that you have to have pocket wizards, and you have to buy an additional module that goes inside of this compartment here. Okay, the little clip just comes off the bottom. If you can see right here, there's a little module area. There's a radio transmitter that goes in there that will use this to set off your pocket wizards. And I'm going to have to do some reading because I didn't buy pocket wizards. So I want to see if this will trigger any other kind of remote flash. If not, we'll just trigger it with my remote trigger and get a reading. This is also where the battery goes. So let's go ahead and retract this back down here. Just like that. Put the battery in. And I know a lot of you are saying this because I said the same thing to many people. You know, why do you want to spend so much money for a light meter? But like I said, when you're taking readings or you're doing weddings, this is a pretty good little item to have. Mainly because you can come up, you can take some readings, find out what the light is, get that camera adjusted quickly and not be fumbling around. So we're going to turn it on here. And right away I see there's different modes you can put this in. Automatically it's defaulted to ISO 100, which I like to shoot at anyway with strobes or outside if I can. Okay, so in the next video series that I'm going to do with this one, or I'll add it to this video so you'll see it coming up here, is we're going to run some tests with this light meter and actually show you how to get some meter readings with it and how to get your, like I said, get your readings in the ambient light, and we'll look at flash or strobe lighting. So we'll see you back here then on that part of the video. Bye for now. Okay folks, welcome back, and now we're going to talk about metering with the new Sekonic L-358. I took it outside for all. It's a pretty bright sunny day today, and I took it outside and I did some metering with the ambient light. Now it's going to be hard to see this thing, but there's a little sunlight up here on top of your meter if you haven't just purchased it and you're watching the video saying, Jack, what do I do now? Because the videos I watched are very good, but the only thing I seen was from the actual Sekonic company. But they don't really go into the nitty gritty because they know how to use it and they're like clicking through so fast you can't see anything. There is a little sunlight up on the top. If you set it to that, that's for the ambient light. Now remember, ambient light is anything we have available. The two studio strobes I have right here on me now is ambient light. What this allows you to do is if you hold the jog wheel down, you can turn it back and forth like this. You can adjust it to either the shutter speed or your aperture setting. So let's say that we want to set it to the shutter speed. And we're going to set a shutter speed of 1/15 of a second. You would hold the button down on the side, and that's going to give you your aperture setting. Now the aperture setting is saying it's 2.0 or 2.06, which can be actually rounded up to 2.1. Now that's okay if you have a 50 millimeter 1.4 or a 1.8 fixed lens. You can get that low on your aperture setting. But on most lenses, they start at 2.8, or a worst case scenario is my stock lens here. You can see right on the side it starts at 3.5 to 5.6. So that's not going to do me any good. So what I did was I clicked here and I wanted to go over to the shutter or to the aperture setting, and then I could turn my dial to something I have. And now there's not very much light in here, but the aperture I set this to is 5.6. Now if I take a reading, it's going to show me over here my shutter speed, which is 2 right now. So what that's basically telling me is there's not enough light in this room to get a really nice picture with ambient light. Unless I can take that aperture down and we can go down to 2.8, then even at that the shutter speed's only 8. Now you're asking, well Jack, that's cool, but you have to be able to take a picture in here, right? Wonder if it's a birthday party. So we're looking at this setting here. We've got 5.6 and the shutter speed of 2. What can we do? Well, here's what you'll do next. You look at your meter because it's going to remember the reading, so it remembers everything that's going on. You, instead of playing with your camera, taking a shot, and you're like, Jesus, how many shots your model's getting mad at you, or worse yet, your kids are getting mad. We hold our ISO 1 button down and just start raising your ISO. That's at ISO 100. So I'm going to go to 200, 400, or 200 there, There's 320, 400. At 640, ISO 640, I'm up to now a shutter speed of 15, which still is not really good for hand holding a camera. So there's 1,000. There's 2,000. So at ISO 2000, we now have a shutter speed of 1/30th of a second, which you can't hand hold your camera at 1/30th of a second. Let's see what that sounds like. Actually, I took the memory card out of this camera here, so that's not going to help me. Hold on, let me get the memory card. Let's turn this on. So it's saying 5.6 at 30, or 1/30th of a second. Can I hand hold this camera? And my ISO setting is going to be at 2000. Well, at that point, my camera only goes to 1600. So let's see if we can back that ISO setting off a little bit and see what we come up with. At 1600, it's still 1/30th. So we're good. Double check my settings and take the shot. And you can hear the shutter, and I don't know if you can see us or not, but the image is absolutely perfect on the exposure. I mean, that's dead on. I'm looking at this image and I'm going, wow, that's really a good image. And I even have the highlights turned on. I have the highlights turned on. There's nothing blown out. And that was with no flash at all. So a light meter, once you start learning how to use your light meter and understanding, maybe the first setting they give you is not exactly what you're going to use. Because I said ISO 2000, went back to my camera does not do ISO 2000. And don't be afraid of running these digital cameras up, folks. Take it up to 2000. Take it up to, I've heard photographers now going up to 3600 on their ISO settings. There you go. But what we're going to do now is we'll lower we could take this aperture setting down to 4 because this lens is 3.5 to 5.6. And when I do that, the meter readings stay the same. So what does that tell you? That tells you that you can zoom this all the way through and you're going to get the same exact picture. And we're getting the same exact picture there. It may be, and if I look on the back of here, to be honest, it may be a little darker than what I would like. But it basically is the same exact picture, and we can look at those later on the computer here and have a look and see how much noise is in there. And I think I'll do that with you also. So I'm going to mark these pictures, and then that way we can actually take a look on the computer, and I can show you a little bit about the noise and how it's not going to really hurt you at all. Okay, so my next thing I want to test with this now is I'm going to try to set up here so I can get some pictures using a strobe. I'm going to show you how to set this thing off, because I don't have pocket wizards. I mean, I couldn't afford those triggers. Those are very expensive. So mine on the side is not going to work here, but I'm going to show you how we can get by with any trigger. So whatever trigger you might have, we're going to take a reading with this, and we'll take some shots and see what those come out like. So I'll see you back there for those. Okay, what I'm going to show you how to do now is take a flash reading from a strobe light. Now, since I don't have the pocket wizards and the wireless trigger built into this, I'm going to use my impact wireless trigger, and I can trip my flash with this, if you can see this. So I can just click that and trip my flash. Now what's going to happen when we put this in a strobe or a flash mode, and all that is on the back here, or on the front of it on display, there's a little lightning bolt. What we're going to do is I set my ISO back to 100. I set my shutter speed at 2/50th, and that might be probably a little faster than what I want to go. So let's turn that down. We're going to turn that back to 1/25th. Pretty fast shutter speed for for a good sync, because well, at least I know my sync speed, total sync speed is 250. So if I can shoot 100 or 250, 125 or 250, that's fine. What you're going to do now is you would hold the light or the light meter with the ball facing your strobe. Now a lot of people, and I've watched a lot of videos on this, said you can point it to the camera if you wish, but it seems to get more of an accurate light reading if you hold it towards your strobe. And my strobe's not anything fancy. I just have it up towards my white light there, or the white ceiling. So I'm actually going to hold it up a little bit, because the light source is actually the ceiling. All I'm going to do now is, and you can actually, if you have this on your camera, I was thinking about this, you can actually have this, your model can actually hold this. You can say, hey, hold that up a little bit to the ceiling, hold it to this strobe over here. You can have this on your camera, and you can be firing your flashes when they're holding this, and then you can go and get your readings. Or they could even read them out to you. That would be fine also. Okay. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and get a reading. All you got to do is push the button in, and it starts flashing right away here. And they say it'll flash for about 30 seconds to get a reading. We point it up, and it tells us a perfect exposure at 1/25th of a second is 5.6. So the aperture, you would set your aperture in the camera at 5.6. Now what happens is, if we want to take that aperture setting, and we want to get that aperture setting with the more shallow depth of field, all we would have to do at that point is turn the control wheel and you would take your shutter speed. Actually, we'll take the shutter speed, we can increase it, and decrease it and get the same effect. But we're going to say for right now, the perfect exposure is the shutter speed at 125 and your aperture at 5.6. Let's go ahead and take another reading. Let's go ahead and set that shutter speed to 2/50th and see if it changes. Again, I click it, hold it up towards my light source, which is the ceiling, and get a shot there. Again, it stayed at 5.6, so it doesn't change. So there you go. Like I said, the light meter is just a perfect little tool to have in your bag. Yes, it is expensive, but I think it's going to save me a ton of work when I'm shooting with lights, just to get that first initial shot to see what the settings are, and then we can go from there and be more creative with our lights. I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial on the Sekonic L-358. You have a couple basic ideas now how to use it, and go ahead, and if you were thinking about buying one, I would say so far, go ahead and pick it up and buy it. It seems like a really solid unit. I'm going to turn mine off so I don't burn up that battery. And go ahead and wheel that back down. I put it right back in my case here. So until next time, folks, keep those shutters clicking, keep your editors editing, and I'll see you back here another time on Jack's Tech Corner. So long for now. Okay, I wanted to show you some pictures, as I said I would. I wanted to come back here at the end of this video and show you some pictures I did outside and a couple inside here with the new light meter and how I actually caught those. And we'll discuss some of this as we go along. Now this one here, if you look up here in the in the left-hand side of this picture, oh geez, you'll see here the shutter speed was 1/1000th of a second. The f-stop is 5.6, and my ISO setting was at 100. Now where I metered from, I put the meter right in front of this pole, and the sunlight is off to the right, over this way. Or actually towards the front here of the picture. So I metered there, and that's the settings it gave me. I stood back, and I took the picture. Now, it looks really nice in that this is pretty much what I metered for. So it's almost like a spot metering. Think about this. I metered for this pole, but look how the background's just a little bit darker. It's a little bit darker back there because we didn't meter for the background. We just metered for the foreground objects. It's a really nice picture. Okay, even though it's a pole, but it's still a really, really nice picture. Now, what I would normally do is I would meter for that background with the camera itself. Maybe we can do some metering. And I also found the meter itself I bought. If you use this little piece here, this is for basically metering ambient light or spot metering away from you. So you can point this to your subject and it measures the light reflecting back at this thing. So you can measure, I guess, the background, but I would rather use the camera to measure the background and use the new meter to measure the foreground. Let's go on now. And now here we're talking about metering. I metered right at this actual pole right here, and as you see here, the shutter speed was actually slowed down to 1/320th of a second. The f-stop was still holding at 5.6, and the ISO is at 100. Now, what's interesting is when I turned the light meter more into the sun, and I measured more into the light source, I actually had to shut the shutter speed or make it faster, which was only allowing a smaller amount of light in. But here's the interesting thing with this. As I said, I think through the video, I've never set my camera up to a shutter speed of 1/1000th. I'm like a 250 shooter, maybe a 125 to 250th of a shooter. So to be able to do this and capture this kind of an image is going to be pretty interesting for me. Now this I just wanted to show you. I metered in a darker area here. I just found this with some shadows back in here and some shade in here. This is actually just on the side of a deck, and I just wanted to show you. But it metered out at 1/125th of a second shutter speed. So at that point now, the shutter is actually even slower. So it's staying open a little longer. But it stayed at 5.6 of an f-stop, and the ISO stayed at 100, so that was all constant. Now this will be interesting for you here, because this is measured at 1/60th of a second, because you can see back in here it's all blown out on this side, on the left side. That's where the sunlight was. Okay, so I'm on this side of our house, and I'm actually blocked from the sun. This is just pretty much ambient light that was in the area without any direct sunlight. So you was able to slow the shutter speed down to 1/60th of a second, the f-stop at 5.6, which stayed constant through this series of shooting, and the ISO is 100. Here the shutter speed, here it was 1/60th, here it's just 1/50th, everything else was constant. And all I did here was just move a little bit to the left. As you can see, this is more to the right. Here's what's interesting. This is right below this. Now this, it was still 1/60th of a second, 5.6 at 100. So what that's telling you is there's really no shadows casting over top of these plants, and it's getting the same amount of light as what's up here on the deck. If you can see this branch, that's the top of this branch. So it's interesting that the camera didn't really change settings at all. And here's just a follow-up with the f-stop at 4.0, which you can see it is a little bit it's a little bit brighter because there's more light coming in because I shot it from the left. Now I'll just show you a couple shots that I took in the house. I don't want this video to be too long and too drug out. So let's take a look at a couple of these. Now here's one here I set up. I first took a meter reading and I adjusted my meter. And what you're seeing here, the flash is to the left of me. Or actually, if you spin me around to the right, it's to the left of us looking at this picture over by this air conditioner. And I was shooting it up to the ceiling in a white ceiling, a natural white ceiling. And this is bounce back flash here. So if you look, you can see the little catch here in my eye. The little catch light from the flash coming down. Actually, flash coming across. But this is bounce light. And what I thought was neat about this was how it gives me that actual shadow coming down because there's no light over here. Here's another one again at 1/25th of a second. And I think both of these were the same speeds here. This is a f5.6 and the ISO of 100. Now this one here, you can just see me. I was measuring towards the camera. They always tell you to measure towards the light. And I thought, well, let's try this out. We're going to get a measurement towards the camera angle. And the camera was sitting in front of me. So what happened was, the only thing that changed is from this one is we had 5.6. And on this one now we had an f-stop of 4.2. And what you can see happen though, from this one to this one also, is that gave me more light on my face over here. Look at the difference between this and this. So remember now, that makes sense because 5.6 is the aperture is smaller, and when we go over here to the 4.2, the opening's a little bigger. It's letting in a little bit more light. So that's how we got that. So you can meter both ways and see, what makes you feel the most comfortable. And this one here, I wanted to meter over on this side because what I wanted to do was try to lighten this side of my face up. So I wanted to get reflective light over and see how much reflective light was coming off the ceiling back into the meter. The only thing I wasn't planning on was the blue walls. These blue walls actually took that light and actually cut it down some, which gave me a different meter reading. And this is the meter reading. So it was 1/125th of a second at f-stop 4.2, and that's at ISO 200. I'm going to turn the developer module on here for a second, because what I want to show you here, what happened was, you can see where I got some highlights in here on this air conditioner. Because what happened was, since I was metering over here, there's also some highlights right in here on this picture. It's very hard to see. But when you meter on the wrong side of the face, what you can get is highlights, because then the ISO at 200 is allowing a lot more light in. Okay, that's what the ISO does. It allows more light in. So what it did was it opened up this side of my face even more. And you can see here how much more light is. Look on that meter there. All the red is indicating highlights. So it actually got a lot of highlights on there at those settings. So I took another meter reading there, and we got back into our natural lighting. So the shutter speed is again 1/125th of a second. The f-stop, if you can see, there's 8.0. That's because my ISO was set at 200. So I had to close that opening down a little bit to get basically the exact same exposure as what we had over here. Those both are the same exposure. Now I don't know if we can bring these up together. Let's see here. No, that's more of a before and after shot there. But you get the general idea. So they were the same. Okay, folks, and as I do more and more, we'll try to get some more videos for you of the light meter here in the case now, as you can see. And we'll try to help you along a little bit as much as I can with using a light meter. It's a new piece of gear to me. It was very much self-explanatory. You take it out of the box. There was a couple settings I had to look at first to figure out how to change it from ambient light to strobes, or to your... and when I refer to strobes, I also refer to speed lights. That's all that I was using in this little video here. So, but I can help you as much as I can. If you'd like to, join our Facebook group, and you can find it at facebook.jackstechcorner.com. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed these kind of tutorials, as always, if you can, you don't really have to. You can help out with the show just by simply going to my website and you click on the donate button, or at least use my sponsors on the website, and you can find those very easily on the left-hand column there. If you buy anything from Amazon, please use the Amazon link on my site. And if you're going to buy it anyway, then at least that way the show gets a little bit of helping hand there. Okay, well, again, thank you very much for watching this video. And I will see you back here next time on Jack's Tech Corner with another photography type video. Bye for now.